Let me just ask, if you don't mind, about being back here in Las Vegas. I mean, you were the lead dog here for so many years, and it's been several years since you've been back. So how does it feel for you, and why haven't you been here more often?
Because I've been working on trying to get a network, and so therefore the same idiosyncrasies that sent me around the world are existing again. You know, you got the television networks, they don't give you dates and different things, but I have not really applied myself in that manner. I'm applying myself in a manner of a platform, in that new information highway, you know, we call the internet. And so if I can get IPTV and do live streaming and figure out the formula of getting paid, I have a library that all of the people that come to bear witness that analyzes it says it's 750 million to $1 billion, 800 million to $1 billion, and if it's operated, it's going to be 7-8 billion, you know. But money is not the answer. The money is the idea that the people have a voice, and the people have a voice, that voice be heard, and that's what I've been working on. It ain't that I've left. I've never left, because I got my home right down here on a V Court. I'm really there, but it's the thing here, getting something to do where the people can be involved.
Has there been any forces at work to try to keep you out of Las Vegas? Have you had to try to fight and overcome that?
Always, every day they got plants that they put in to my business or into my accomplishments some of my aides and supporters, you know, to be able to do diabolical schemes. This is what it's all about. You got to be able to fight that, you know, not by making excuses and pointing the finger and blame, but by attaining results in spite of, not because of. When you say that, you have to say it with a smile, because you know that that's what it really is. But the thing of it is, that don't mean nothing. The only way you can ever win is to win. Vince Lombardi made that very clear. The only thing is winning. You know what I mean? You know, it don't mean nothing else. So what we got to do is we the people. You know what I mean? And that's what you live with, that, governed by the consent of the people, supported by the people. So you got to educate the public sentiment, and that's what you're doing right now.
And finally, I never thought I would hear you quote a lot of people, but you quoted the OJs, which is a little bit of a departure for you today. But I guess that holds. It's a truism for you. I mean, people do want to take your place, right?
Well, it's not my place. You know, in addition to, it's what it's all about. That's what age is. Age is, you know, you prepare for those who are younger. That is why our nation's greatest resources is people, and the people's greatest resources is children. You can't stay here forever, and it's the one thing that the common practice we all will be. Everybody got to die. So therefore, you got to prepare those who come behind you to have an opportunity in the land of opportunity. So therefore, you have to keep it work on it. But sometimes people get confused. You know what I mean? They don't know if they just be patient and bear time, you know what I mean? You won't be around, you know what I mean? But while you're all around, teach and open the doors for others that were blocked for you, you know what I mean? And so this is what I try to do, be a peace ambassador, be able to work with different countries around the world, which Shimon Peres made me the peace ambassador for the Middle East, you know, peace in the Middle East. Nelson Mandela made me a peace ambassador for the world, you know what I mean? So you just go out, Hugo Chavez did the same thing. So, you know, world leaders are coming in to be a part of parcel of disputes that wouldn't be disputes if you put yourself in other man's shoes.
How about getting in on the Obama administration? Maybe the president could appoint you to a position.
The greatest thing the American people has ever done is to make the progress to put aside some of the old idiosyncrasies and take on the new. And that's what it's a vote for America. So remember Iowa should be the same as it would say remember the Alamo. And the Alamo's freedom was succinct, that 180-some men stood there and said, I want to give my life for freedom. Even a slave that was with Bowie's slave, and Bowie said, you are now free. He said, you mean I'm free? Then I want to fight for that thing called freedom. And he stayed there with Jim Bowie, you know what I mean, and died fighting for freedom to give Sam Houston an opportunity to go out there and beat Santa Ana and San Jacinto. So you got to understand, it always goes around. You got to be able to stand up and be accounted for. If you don't stand for something, you don't live for nothing. And so what you got to do is the work. You can't find excuses and say, oh, you did this because I'm this, I did that because it's that. Because you know that going in, they're doing it to you because of this, that, or the other. You know what I mean? So when you say the OJs, they're just more prominent that you can do in the ghetto language, you know what I mean? SKD, something kind of dipper. They smile in your face when all the time they want to take your place, the backstabber. But the same thing they said about our ego, you know, with Shakespeare. You know what I mean? He's agitating with Desdemona and Othello. You know what I mean? He did the agitation, and next thing you know, Othello done knocked off Desdemona. You know what I mean? So you got to understand it goes on. It ain't nothing new now. You know, but what really is age old is the ingratitude. Shakespeare described it so eloquently. You know what I mean? When you deal with that, you got to be able to deal with what is real. You know what I mean? And so people don't understand. So you got to keep on fighting. You can't get mad, get boisterous, emotional, what they call misguided emotionalism. You know what I mean? Just misguided passion. You got to be able to deal with people. You are your brother's keeper, whether you want to be or not. You know what I mean? It ain't about the color of your skin, the pigmentation of your skin, or the hue of your hair. It's about the character, what's in your heart. That's what really counts. You know what I mean? So let us be Americans like Americans supposed to be, and that's what they put down in that decree that says one land indivisible with liberty and justice for all. You know what I mean? So you got to be able to deal with that. You know what I mean? And I try to deal with that because I done been on both sides of the aisle.
Well, we appreciate it, and welcome again to the city of Las Vegas.
Glad to be home and love the state of Nevada. You know, it's a great state that they made it so that you could gamble. So everybody instead of always sneaking and hiding in red light districts and all, they just got them a state and put it all together so you could do whatever you want to do, as long as you do it within the accords of what would be domestically right. And that's what we got. We got a Las Vegas in the great state of Nevada.
Thank you, sir.